Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about economics and crypto, and welcome back to my World War Bitcoin podcast videos. If you're wondering what's been going on, the end of summer's been absolutely insane. The amount of miles that I've driven to do different things, and I had my last thing yesterday or 2 days ago from when you're watching this video, where I took my kids to Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. And now there's nothing until school starts and I can actually regularly be making content again. So here we go. We're back, baby. All right. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on the notification button as well. But interesting thing from this account here, Colin Talks Crypto. It's not somebody that I follow, and it's just an interesting. So we've seen these things before, right? You know, this was really popular in April and May, the M2 money supply chart overlaid with Bitcoin with like an 80-day delay. Well, here's one that puts everything together in terms of global M2, inverse DXY, and gold. And you're going to be shocked to find this out. I'm being totally sarcastic. What we have next, potentially, if we're going to follow all three of these, is a significant move higher in the price of Bitcoin. So 82-day backlog here. What's the offset? An 82-day offset. So this is an experiment. Next Bitcoin move up prediction, August 9th to 13th. We're close. It's August 7th when you're watching this video. But an experiment to see if three charts, global M2, inverse DXY, and gold act as confluence. And if they can predict when Bitcoin's next short-term price move up will be for Bitcoin. Each was offset by 82 days to match the most recent price moves. This offset was chosen purely visually and for recency. It was overfitted on purpose for a longer term view, which is not what we're looking at here. An offset by about 90 has a stronger average correlation. Okay, let's see the guess here. So, all right, Bitcoin, the orange part is where Bitcoin is, at least the day this tweet was made. And so what comes next? Oh my goodness, guys, can you believe it? What comes next is a significant move higher for Bitcoin. All right, starting on August 9th. Now, I'm not denying that this could happen. I'm just, if you understand my skepticism, it's not really skepticism. It's more so how convenient that you're going to create a chart that then predicts this big move up in Bitcoin. And where could Bitcoin go? Who knows? Maybe $135,000. I'm bullish right now, and I am hopeful. Please, can that be the case? I would say worst case scenario, we would see something like a chop or move down in the price of Bitcoin between now and the next rate cut, so something like 40 days. But could this happen? Could we have this big move and then peak in October over $150,000? Sure, let's do it. How about we do that? Let's just go ahead and make all of our wildest dreams come true. Hey, it's something to keep in mind. Maybe this weekend, or should I say early next week, because CME futures, we will see some kind of a significant move up for Bitcoin. Let's move on now. Short-term holder spent output profit ratio. This is a chart that I pay a lot of attention to. So let's see from Check on Chain here. This chart shows how much profit or loss short-term Bitcoin holders are taking right now. We're right on the cusp of flipping profit taking to loss taking, which is historically a buy the dip signal in bulls. What we want to see from here is a short, sharp dip into red territory, resolving back to a healthy green number. This confirms the bull is still in play. So this goes back to, what was that? This goes back to early 2024, late 2023. So, I mean, what you can see here is that there are certainly times when short-term holders sell at a loss. And what was the most significant time recently was all the tariff fears from February to April. And then a very brief period of time when we had the war threats, Bitcoin got under $100,000 for a brief period of time. But then other than that, I mean, since the end of the tariff fears, it's been pretty much short-term holders have been taking profits, and the time to have bought the dip was around the time that their profit taking was minimized because they were more, on average, selling at a loss or at break even. And so this might have been that move down. I mean, I talked about this in my video from 2 days ago. I tend to think that back test of the May all-time high of about $112,000 was a good bottom call. That would have been a perfect entry to get in on Bitcoin. And by extension, Ethereum and XRP and a lot of other cryptos. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the bottom. I mean, the difference between now and what we saw during the big war threats, World War III threats that we saw when Bitcoin got under $98,000. I mean, first of all, that was that weekend dump. I'm very skeptical of weekend pumps and dumps. And so weekend dump, low liquidity, peak fear moment, which I've been talking about for the summer of 2025 since 2023 and even before then, that dip down below the 1.618 retrace from the previous cycle top to the previous bear market bottom. And so we got that right there. So yeah, I do tend to think that yes, from here, that we are not going to go below $112,000 until the bear market. We'll see. Now, I do want to be clear about something. In this video, I have a couple concerns, a couple things that, sure, maybe we'll see a dip below zero in short-term holder profit. Maybe we'll go below $112,000. But I'm liking where we are right now and where we went to last week. Now, Charles Edwards, really interesting information here. I never really thought about it from this perspective, but as of today, 150 publicly listed companies now hold Bitcoin as the reserve asset, a big milestone, and it's only just started going exponential. So these are companies, the light blue line, if you can see it, these are companies that own Bitcoin. And that's really interesting. So do I care about the dollar amount? Sure, I care about the dollar amount or the Bitcoin amount that they hold. But if we're talking about publicly traded companies that hold Bitcoin, you can assume that it's probably a lot. And I like this. I like seeing this go vertical, and it makes me wonder about the bear market. I think altcoins are going to get wrecked in the bear market, but maybe there's some hope for Bitcoin. I mean, when I say wrecked, I mean more so than previous bear markets. I think altcoins are going to get absolutely hammered. But maybe not Bitcoin, and here's a reason why. Maybe not Bitcoin. We're in this new territory, so let's see where we go from here. Now, listen, don't take this as bearishness. Take this as just information. Okay, Zhao Wedson, I feel like I share his stuff in every video, and he has a too small of a following, but it's growing. Bitfinex, 382x more longs than shorts. Now, let me step back from this a little bit. That Zhao is not a clickbait kind of guy, but that after looking at the charts that he presented, that's a little bit of a clickbaity title. But let's keep reading here. Bitfinex is currently the only exchange that openly discloses the actual size of leverage positions, and the latest data reveals a concerning trend. All right, let's cool off again. Long positions are rising again, while shorts are almost non-existent. Historically, this pattern has preceded price drops in Bitcoin, which is already happening. However, I don't believe this trend will continue once Bitcoin forms a price base soon. So when did he tweet this? I don't even know. It might have been a few days ago. But historically, yeah, all right, read that. Unlike most exchanges that only show the long-short ratio, Bitfinex provides the exact amount of longs and shorts, a level of transparency that should be standard across the industry. So this first chart scared the living daylights out of me. And why cannot click on it? Okay, there we go. The first chart, because you see the amount of longs, you see barely any shorts, and oh no, it's so scary. And it's really interesting. So this whole chart, especially like dating back to 2019, I know my head's in the way. Seeing the fact that on Bitfinex in 2018, 2019, there were multiple periods where there were more shorts than longs. And then you see that just kind of dwindling over time. What it makes me think is that retail has gotten a lot more into this game when it comes to longing and shorting crypto. And so what do retail do? They're going to want to long a lot more than they're going to want to short. I long more than I short, that's for sure. But so this looks really scary when you look at it today in 382 times more longs and shorts. Well, let's take a look at this next chart here. This, I think, paints a better picture of the Bitfinex long-short ratio. And you can see there have been plenty of times when the longs far exceeded the shorts, but Right now, it's high. It's definitely high, but if you look at it in comparison to all time, it looks like, I mean, we're just trending higher. And my goodness, November of 2024, excuse me, November, December of 2024 was a significant period of much more longing than shorting. The reason why I'm bringing this out is when I remember seeing something like this in November of 2021 when Bitcoin got to $69,000. Everybody was long. Everybody was expecting Bitcoin to go over $100,000, and that just didn't happen. And the longs got destroyed. I mean, I lost a lot of money in November, December of 2021. My goodness. But so this really scared me. I see 382x more longs and shorts. Okay, well, longs are going to get murdered. But that's not typically what happens. I mean, what happens is along the way you see a lot of liquidations happening to the downside. As the price goes down, a lot of people get liquidated, not as much to the upside. And so I see a chart like this and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's hotter than it's been in the past, but this still looks within range. So it's always something to consider. Is this something that I'm raising the alarm bells? Oh no, we're going to crash, so all the longs are going to get wrecked. No. But sure, at this exact moment is a little bit higher than it's been in the past. Sure, yes. And would love to see this go lower. And maybe there would be something that would cause it to go lower. I think that's my main point here. Maybe there would be something that would cause our current level to go lower, or maybe we are about to enter that final phase. And I tend to think we will. And I can't wait. There's going to be a time when I own zero crypto aside from Bitcoin and some hee. But other than that, let's move on. We have Axel Adler Jr., something else to very much be paying attention to. Because we are not early. You are not, if you're watching this video today on August 7th, 2025, you are not early. Okay, early was 2022. 2023, you were early. 2024, you were not early. And you should, 2020, you would have been early, but not 2024. This cycle is different. But here we go. The problem of the late stage bull cycle is that investors' risk appetite decreases. The chart shows that in March and December of 2024, the metric displayed values above 1.9, but now the metric is forming a lower peak and holders are beginning to actively sell coins, putting pressure on the market. Essentially, investors are still taking profits, but each new price surge upward brings an increasingly smaller marginal premium to cost basis. Given the situation and the anticipated 2 Fed rate cuts this year, I expect 2 more rallies in this cycle before selling pressure outweighs demand and the market turns to a correction phase. So, what did this look like in 2021? Very high. November of 2021, very high. But, we had different moments in 2024. 1.95, 1.99, very high. 1.73 was the most recent peak at $123,000. So would we get back to a point where people are willing to hold a little bit longer, or is this the name of the game? And I'm openly wondering this. Is this the name of the game where like every pump, let's say we get up to $130,000, all right, then we correct down under 120, and then we get up to $140,000, correct down, whatever. I don't know, but I do tend to think that there would be some kind of irrational pump and we would have another moment, maybe exceeding the euphoria of March of 2024 or November, December of 2024. That is where I'm leaning. And especially with altcoins, especially given the fact that Ethereum is kind of center stage right now. And the Ethereum Bitcoin chart looks very bullish. The Ethereum dominance chart looks very bullish. That after we see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin fairly significantly, that we'd see that to start roll over into altcoins. And so there'd be a lot more excitement. And so maybe a score of 1.99 in this case for Bitcoin mean of NUPL and MVRV is accompanied by a more significant move in altcoins. That's where I lean right now, but we will see. Okay, after we move on to other cryptos, I just want to remind you guys of this. You can see a link for this in the description of this video. With Gemini, you get, and they don't sponsor me or anything, but I do get a kickback, and you would as well. You'd get $50 if you sign up for the Gemini credit card. And the appeal for this for me is that they give you 4% back in whatever crypto you want from me. It's Bitcoin and gasoline. So I paid $80 to fill up my 12-passenger van with gasoline the other day, and $3 of that went to Bitcoin. This is something that I've already been doing, And so if you sign up, I'm going to be honest with you, I get $50. But you also get $50 worth of Bitcoin if you sign up as well. So click on the link in the description of the video. And if you want to support this channel, here's an easy way to do so. But let's move on. Glassnode, ETH spot ETF inflows have slowed after the July surge, but flows remain positive despite the recent price pullback. Investor appetite hasn't flipped to net outflows. So that's good. But I mean, you can see, we had significant moments here where there are a ton of ETH inflows in July. And here we are in August. It's not as much. And now looking at the spot Bitcoin ETFs, am I concerned? I would not say I'm concerned. I would love to flip back positive, but we've had some significant outflow days recently, including Friday. Friday I think was a unicorn with $802 million worth of outflows. But even Monday was a green day, 323 million. Tuesday, 196 million of outflows. And so what's going to happen for the remainder of this month? We'll see. So, this could flip on a dime. It could flip back positive. It's something worth very much paying attention to. Ethereum doesn't look nearly as bad. Of course, with Ethereum, we did have that unicorn day on August 4th, but then August 5th, $73.3 million worth of inflows. So maybe Ethereum's back on the menu, and maybe we're going to see some of these significant days. Like July 22nd, my goodness, $500 million worth of Ethereum were bought. So something to keep your eyes on, but we did have a little bit of a cooling off recently for the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF flows. So a couple stock market things, and then we're going to be done with this video. So much for sell in May when the S&P 500 is up in May, June, and July. Rest of the year is higher 87.5% of the time, 15 out of 17, and up a median of 8.3%. Next 12 months up well above average as well. So you can see rest of the year, there's a couple years, 1987. Okay, that was, what was that? Black Monday in 1987. 2018, I think that wasn't Brexit related. I don't remember exactly what that was, but there were a couple catalysts for those two rest of the year returns, but otherwise they were all green. I would expect the remainder of this year for S&P 500 to be green. And then you can see the next 12 months, 3 particular years, 1952, again 1987, still Black Monday stuff, and 2021. Interesting, 2021. How much did it go down? It went down. It went down 6%. I just don't remember the end of 2021 being red from where we were at the end of July. But you remember what happened with Bitcoin from July to November, at least in 2021. It went from $30,000 to $69,000. So, okay, 2023, 2020. So the last 2 years, it's been like that. Very good months for May, June, and July. But we will see. I would expect green for, who knows about August, but for the remainder of the year, in the next 12 months, I would expect green in the S&P 500. Now, I'm going to disagree with something from Guilherme Tavares here. For those who believe the S&P 500 is reasonably valued, what an illusion. So S&P 500 adjusted for households' net worth. Now, let's be careful with this, because the US dollar during the dot-com boom was fundamentally a different dollar than it is right now. I know it was also depegged. Depegged from gold and all that, but the great debasement of 2020, the introduction of quantitative easing in 2008 has made the US dollar a much more different, a cheaper asset. So this would communicate, and here's the deal. This chart, I don't love what this chart is communicating. It's communicating that we are very much overbought, that we're in this massive bubble, but I keep on saying the US dollar is the bubble, not the stock market. Now, I am very nervous I'm looking out in the horizon, and I'm seeing some things that cause me to be nervous, including the bond market. But the market can remain irrational much longer than you would tend to think. And so I've had my timeline for the end of 2025 being that time when the crows would come home to roost, and then we hit a new all-time high in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Okay, so we've got a little bit longer. It seems we've got a little bit longer, but here's what I've been preaching for you to pay attention to. Here's the S&P 500 priced in gold, and you can see the real peak. This was the real peak. The dot-com bubble, I don't think we're ever going to see something like this in our lives again. That was the peak of boomer euphoria. And yes, we are the bag holders. If you are Gen X or whatever, or millennial or Gen Z, whatever you want to call yourself, and you're not a boomer, you are the bag holder of the boomers, and maybe they'll give you a few scraps off their tables when they all die. What a wonderful way to end this video, but I'm going to end this video right now. Don't forget to sign up, link in the description of this video, for the Gemini card, and get Bitcoin for things that you already do. Sounds like a plan to me. But that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful rest of your week, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.